I would really like to get to the heart of the matter of what I'm doing, and I've been working on this other guy's mod quite extensively and a lot longer than I anticipated, but that's okay because so nickel is in the ground at 30%, and I think that's what we were going to add. That was not added down here. Nitric oxide? I suppose they need laughing gas for the dentist chair. I guess I'll put it after sodium. That's methane. Sodium oxide. See, these are other chemicals that we can get out of the soil. Nickel. And that's the color of about 160, 160, 180. That's a surface. And that's Ni. I don't know what these titles and descriptions are. Let me see if I can move this stuff out here a little. So, calcium oxide, we got sodium oxide. Actually, what I could do is put this over here. And then look at my map here. There's actually a ferrous oxide too, but I didn't put that in there. So nickel is at 35%. Some of this stuff is more prevalent in rock, some of it's more prevalent in soil. I haven't figured all of that out. I don't really care about that right now. There's a fair amount of work to get all this stuff done. I believe that was just saved. Now we're back to this here, which is synthesizing sulfur. So we've got hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, iron sulfide. Oh god, is iron sulfide in there? It should be. iron sulfide. That's a surface. Methane is atmospheric. It says atmospheric, but even though it's in the vents, it's still atmospheric, I guess. Now, let's see what we got here. So I did all of that. Now I wanted to look at the actual guy's mod here. Which I believe. So this is what he wrote down, which mine is pretty close. I didn't look at his, but so we've got an input of Mars soil, 4 units. We get water, sulfur, and potassium. Well, we don't get potassium and iron. Wait a minute, that's, what is that? I don't even know what that is. Those are trace elements. I have not. So if I look at the map again, what would we consider trace elements here? So trace elements would be like sodium oxide. Why is that called? That should be, yeah, sodium oxide would be trace. Potassium, whatever that is down there, that's another one. Oh, that's potassium. This is phosphorus oxide. Chromium and some of this other crap. There's so much here. So what I'm looking at now, this was his. Now he's got another one down here. He was inputting magnesium sulfide to get sulfur and magnesium oxide out. I think that's magnesium sulfide. Now, I gotta look at this list again. His is just MgSO4. Oh, God. Well, that's the backup. I can't be looking at that. Oh, it's magnesium sulfate. MgSO4. This is used in medicine. inorganic salt. Epsom salts. Alright, here we go. Monohydrate magnesium sulfate water is found in the middle kaiserite. It can be prepared by heating dihexahydrate to 150 degrees C. Further heating gives anhydrous magnesium sulfate. Upon further heating, anhydrous salt decomposes into magnesium oxide and sulfur trioxide, which is what's available on Mars. Magnesium oxide and sulfur trioxide. Why would we want to create? So we could create Epsom salts from the available sulfur trioxide and the magnesium oxide if we wanted to. We could create Epsom salts in the game. Not that it would be used for anything. Let me go back to this. Can you get sulfur out of magnesium sulfate? Because he's got that in there. Epsom salt sulfur content. Fertilize with Epsom salt. Magnesium sulfate for plant care. Where is this magnesium sulfate even coming from? Why does he have that in there? I don't know what this MarsResource's made of. I don't think the MarsResource even has anything to do with magnesium sulfate, you know? But it's in his... shit. Magnesium sulfate is in his list. Pyrite's in his list. Sulfur is in his list. Those are mine. Now that should not be. These are the new ones. Let's see. I just gotta make sure that what I have in my list is not what's in his list. So he's got sulfur, pyrite, magnesium sulfate, and MarsResource. Sulfide. I don't see that in here. None of that's in here. Alright, so I'm good there. That's just his mod that I... So then if I look at... This must be coming from his list. Yeah, it's his list because I was looking at it, wasn't I? So we're not even doing any of this. Actually, now, as a matter of fact, if I go back, I gotta go back to his chemistry. Because now we don't need that in there, but how do I can't take that out of his mod. Or can I? I can't. I can't take it out of his mod. That's his mod. I mean, I could redo his mod. If I look at If I look at my own, I think that's what I have to. No, wait. What did I do? I gotta think about this. Where the hell is my mod here? If I look at this, I just gotta make sure. Mars soil traces my mod. Alright, so I got sulfur out of there, but that's not correct. If I go to what I did down here, here's the sulfur synthesis. And this one is correct, and that's in the base. And we're getting sulfur. So if I go back to the Mars base, what are we getting out of the soil? We're getting pyrite. And pyrite's going to come out of the rock. I gotta go back here to the base. So if we look at our input's pyrite and water. So what we need to do is we need to collect the pyrite now. And that's in my mod. Split Mars soil. Now he's got trace elements. Pyrite could be considered a trace element. Oh, okay, so what we're going to be doing then is we're going to split Mars Rock 3. What we're going to do is we're going to take this out altogether. And we'll make a copy of Split Mars Rock 2. And we'll put a 3 in here into their trace elements. Into trace elements. Alright, so now I'm going to look at my map here. So the trace elements, I can kind of bring it over here, are going to be now sodium oxide. Is it sodium oxide? I got sodium, nickel, and calcium. I got sodium in there, but that's part of sodium oxide. Sodium oxide. So that's sodium oxide, isn't it? So that means, so alright, so what we're going to have here, we're going to split Mars Rock 3, Mars core sample. We're going to have sodium oxide is one of them. Let's bring our map up again here. Now we've got, oh, that's phosphorus there. Potassium oxide, calcium oxide was and that's another one in the list that I need to add again. See, I'm modifying that big list here. Sodium oxide. We need potassium oxide in here. $220. That's going to be, I think it's K2O. I think. I gotta look at the map here. K2O is potassium oxide, I think. Let me just double check here. K2O. Alright, so I've got potassium oxide. That's a surface K2O, K2O. Let's save that. See what else we got here. Calcium oxide is really not a trace element, though. What else do we need here? I need the... Wait, that's phosphorus. I don't need the phosphorus. So to keep this thing in the viewfinder here. Got the sodium, manganese, magnesium oxide. I think that's already. I gotta look at the main list again. Let's see. Where are we here? Chemistry, base. So if we look at this main list, we got carbon dioxide, water, silicon oxide, which is why is that there? That shouldn't be there. Well, I haven't fixed that yet. It's actually dioxide. Actually, that actually needs to be fixed. So I need to fix it. Now I can fix it because I'm making a mod. Hooah! And this was already added in my my list. Iron oxide, aluminum oxide, magnesium oxide. I don't even know why nitric oxide is in there. This thing is so big. Back to the map. So the only problem is determining whether the constituent elements come out of the rock or the soil. Now, it doesn't say. I believe when I did my other work, I wrote some information down about this. Let me go to my website and see if I can find Martian rock composition. Olivine, pyroxene, feldspar, basalt, composition of Mars. Primary rocks and jump to primary rocks and darkers. Pathfinder. Pyroxene. Normalized to silicon, iron, magnesium, calcium. See, calcium's right up there. Sodium is actually separate. Rock classification, silicon dioxide. Barnacle Bill multi-spectrum spot. Well, I wrote something down a long time ago, and I'm going to see if I can find what it is that I wrote. I did some other research on Mars for a different game. Nickel. These are percentages here, but that's I don't trust that. I don't see. Let's see if I can find something in this one. I was thinking the aluminum oxide is in the rocks, the iron oxide is in the dirt. That was one thing that I mentioned somewhere. So I'm wondering. That talks about wastes. There's potassium that's being used there. Let's see. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go look for my... Now, I don't even know if I have my original... I got the original information somewhere, but I don't remember. I wonder if it's this one here. this off for a minute. I don't know where that data is. There's a stream mods. Steam apps. Fuck, I don't know. I think I took everything out of there. Wait. Steam. Oh, God, I don't. No, I don't know where that data is. Wait, let's see. Config list. It might be in here. I think I found it. This might be it. This looks somewhat familiar. These numbers look different here. These numbers look different. These are the ones that I modified. Let me see if I can grab this. I'll put this into Steam mods. I've got that list. I didn't do anything with that. Config list, scripts, I don't need any of that. This might be the same thing, I don't know. I think I found it though, believe it or not. I gotta put these directories in here. I got one more to do. Alright. I think it's the first one. Oh God, those are all different too. I think these are all the correct numbers. That's the backup. They just look familiar. Fuck. Let's see. This is where I run into. It's really difficult because you've got these variations, and I've got so many windows open right now that I don't want to lose track if I can help it. Alright, here we go. We're looking now. 1, 3, 3, 3. Those are all threes. 2, 3, 4, 3, 6. 13s. 1, 1, and 4. 5, 1. 160, 20. 13, 120. 1, 1, 3. 4, 120. 1, 8. 1, 8. 2, 3, 2. 1, 5. Okay, that actually looks good. So no, I gotta go back again. I'm gonna grab this base, and then I'm gonna go to my mod, Where's my mod? I hope I'm in the right fucking place here. There's the mod base. Alright, I got the 2 bases available, so let me try to bring those up here. Alright, so just briefly, this is the original, and you can see basically what the numbers are. And I've got some additions in there. So now what we want to do is I want to grab all my other original work and replace it with what was in there. I'm just looking at these numbers. Alright, so carbon dioxide, water, silicon dioxide, iron oxide, aluminum oxide, magnesium and methane. Methane is hydrogen and carbon. Methane is... There's an oxygen catalyst involved in that. See, I did a lot of research on this before. So now, let's see, I've got... Oh, wait a minute. Okay, well that needs to be removed. Alright, so methane, ammonia, nitric oxide. Split, I got hydrazine in there, ammonia, nitric oxide. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab everything down to, I think, methane, ammonia, nitric oxide. So what I'll do is I'll grab this, split methane, copy, and I'm going to go over here. This is the mod, and that goes down to methane. So now we've got all of the new versions down to methane. Then this stuff here, I got split carbon dioxide 2. Splits carbon dioxide for initial plastics only 3 times per mission. So there's something there which, let's see, carbon dioxide. I put it after methane, so I'll just shove it in there. There's something wrong with that. What the hell is wrong with this? These are just... Oh, wait. I know that's right. Now I've got split hydrazine. Copy. Paste. Now we've got the good stuff down here. We've got air carbon plastic. I believe all of the plastic numbers, let's see, plastic, fabric, and glue is all changed. Okay, so we've got air carbon plastic, which is a different method of creating plastic. So we're going to grab all of that, and we're going to replace all of this here. Now we've got all of that in there. that is all of split TCOM base original work that I did a long freaking time ago. And this is all the new stuff. Now I'm gonna bring this out here just to make sure. I'm gonna save this real quick, that everything looks good. Now the only problem is with the numbers. I do get numbers in there, but all that stuff, I gotta look at all the numbers again. Alright, so now that takes care of the split TCOM. Now what I've got to do is I've got to go to my original chemistry. If I can figure out where I just had it. Here, and we're going to do the synthesized TCOM base, and that is the original. Oops. And then we are going to load up the synth TCOM base from the mod. And I don't know if you can see the numbers. I just barely got the numbers in there. So where is it now? Where the fuck did I do with it? It must be right there. Okay, so this is synth TCOM base. This is the one that I worked on. Now you see I've got synthesized fertilizer. All that stuff is all synthesized air carbon plastic. This is all that stuff that I did before. So let's see, 1, 2, 1. You can see the numbers are different too. They're more in line with a hardcore game. Synthesized silicon oxide. Now you can see that's wrong. But now I can change this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this in the original. Oh, I can't. I can't do that because I don't want to change anything else. I'll change it in the new one when I get it figured out here. Just look at the numbers. 1, 2, 1. So now you can see magnesium oxide is set at 13. I don't know why. I can't remember, but there was reasoning behind it. Methane. I gotta make sure I got the right ones. I got carbon dioxide, water, silicon dioxide, magnesium oxide, methane, ammonia, fertilizer 1 and fertilizer 2. And the reason for that is because I wanted to be able to create fertilizer from the get-go with the small unit refinery. Now I've got synthesized fertilizer, then I've got synthesized human waste. I'm actually creating human waste. Don't ask me how I'm doing that or why, I have no idea. I got synthesized methane and water. Now I don't know, this was something that, why would I want to input carbon dioxide and hydrogen to create methane? That's extremely inefficient. I don't know why that's there. I think I took it out. Because we're right down to synthesize nitric oxide. Alright, now we've got air, carbon, plastic, synthesis, and fabric, and those are all different numbers. So I believe everything in here can be taken out. And then over here. Oh my god, I saved myself so much freaking work by having done this a long time ago. I'd be totally lost. I don't need to save that. Now we're gonna go here and we're gonna fix this error. And now everything is there in that, and we're going to save that, and that takes care of the TCOM synthesis base. Now we're going to go into the TCOM Mars. Bring this over. This is the TCOM Mars split. And I don't know if anything was changed in this or not. I'm pretty sure I thought I got to it. I can't get all the numbers in the stream, probably. Yeah, there's some changes in there. Split Mars soil 2. There's silicon, iron, potassium, oxygen. Look at these numbers. The numbers are way skewed. Like, you get all this stuff all at once. I mean, it just sits there, and then when it finally gets 100, you get... That's what you get. Oh, wait a minute. These are constituent elements. See, I did all these numbers. I had to add up the ratios for for everything. Split atmosphere 2. See, I've got 10, 8, 1, 1. I mean, that's there. I never really got down that far, I don't think, to changing that. But this one I did. Silicon, iron, potassium. Magnesium oxide. See, this is in the rock. See, the magnesium oxide... the aluminum oxide is in the rock at the beginning. Yeah, see, I don't know. Those numbers are all the same too, aren't they? 10, 3, 2, 1. Except for split Mars soil 2 is all different. It's all has to do with the percentages. If you look at, like, split Mars soil 2, if you look at the map, which you probably can't see, if Mars soil is 100 units, that's why I did this. 100 units, so the percentage of silicon in Mars soil comes out to be 45%, which is silicon dioxide. And so silicon dioxide is where? it's silicon dioxide. It's just two oxides. Okay, so I added the oxygen for the iron and the potassium oxide. I added all of that together to come up with those numbers. One water. I know I did that right on split Mars soil 2. That's silicon, iron, potassium. Silicon oxide, iron oxide, and potassium oxide. Now, split Mars soil 1 was silicon oxide, and that's 10 units. So if it's 100 units, it's 30%, which is about right. It's close, a little less. Iron oxide is 20%. It's really not, but it's close. Alright, if I go to split the rocks, now we've got the the elements are coming out. If we look at, I don't even know if I changed, I could probably change those numbers in the original and save it and then transfer it over. So if we look at the rock, we got a silicon oxide again. Which I'm only using 5 units. So that's like 50%. So if I multiply it by 10 and 2, that's 40% of silicon oxide, which is correct. Iron oxide is 2. No, that's not correct. That should be a 1, I'll bet you. So if I multiply it by 10, that's 20%. Aluminum oxide is way up to 85 or 90. So if that's 50, that would be 50, that'd be 10 times 2. If this is 100, this needs to be 85 or 80. So divided by 2 is 40. So it's 4. So if I multiply it by 10, it's 40 times 2, that's 85. What if I multiply it by 42 and a half, 42, I mean, well, it's 4. You can only use those numbers. Now see, that's a quicker, that's the actual. Now if I use split Mars rock 2, now I'm getting I got the same numbers. Shit. If silicon dioxide, so I'm going to get 2 silicon dioxide, that's 2 silicons and 1 oxygen. So now I've got to, I'm just going to put the number here for the silicon. For the iron oxide, wait, no, it's dioxide, so there's actually 2 of them. I got 2 silicons. Alright, for the iron oxide, it's going to be FeO. So this is going to be a 1. And the iron is 1. The aluminum oxide is 4. There's 2 aluminums. Fuck. Aluminum oxide. That's the whole thing. So if there's 4 aluminum oxides, there's a total of 8 aluminum. And 12 oxygen. And now the magnesium oxide, which comes out in this particular unit, and it doesn't show up in number 1. That's set at 60, let's call it 60%. So for every 100 we get 60 units. So if I multiply that by 10 and times 2, what if I put a 3? 30 times 2 is 60. 30 times 2 is 60. That's magnesium oxide. And I had to put that complete unit in there. Alright, so I've got 12, 13, 14, 15. So this number changes to 15. And I remove that. I'm going to save this. So I may be working my way down this original list here, looking at all the percentages. Alright, Mars soil. Now we're looking at Mars soil. Silicon oxide. I got 10 Mars soil, so that would be 30%. It says 40. What the hell? Iron oxide is 10, so that should be a 1. And maybe there's some water in there. I don't know why water's in there. It's like, is there water on Mars, you know? That would give me 10 units of water. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to remove this. We're not going to collect water out of that. We've got silicon oxide and iron oxide already out of something's not right here. It's 40% silicon oxide, which is true. This is 40%. Silicon, iron, and aluminum. We've got it in... Oh, the soil is supposed to have iron oxide, not aluminum. And then when we split, we can split the constituents here. I could change this to here, and then iron back to here. Now we've got our potassium. There's the potassium oxide, which is 5%. So we could actually... I want potassium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this iron oxide. And then we're going to grab that there. Now since this is at 5%, which is 0.5, that means I've got to double all of these units in order to even just get a 1 in there. So to get a 1 here, I'm going to need this to be a 2. This has to be an 8. And this has to be a 20. Because none of these numbers can be like digits. So we got our potassium oxide. Very nice. I don't, we got, so potassium, so this has got to be a 20. And this has got to be an 8. Iron is going to be a 2. Potassium is a 1. Silicon oxide is 2 oxides, so that's 3 oxygen, that's 4 oxygen. God, I got 305 here. Oh shit. This is supposed to be if I have, oh god, I'm gonna get this screwed up. If I have 10%, it's 40% silicon dioxide. How much oxygen am I going to get out of this? If I've got 8 silicon, shouldn't it be 16? Yeah, if I've got 8 silicon, that means I've got 16 oxygen. So I'm going to go back here. Iron oxide is 2, which is is 2. Potassium is 2. No, it's 1. Potassium oxide is actually K2. There's 2 potassium. So this is actually, so I could actually drop this back down, couldn't I? I can make this a 10, a 4, and a 1, because there's actually, oh, wait a minute, no, that's not correct, because I've got the whole thing here. 28, 2. Over here I can, I think. 10, 4, 1. Now I can do a 1. I can do a 1 potassium. And then I get, I still get my 1 oxygen. So now if I'm only getting 4, then this is going to be an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that makes this a 12, supposedly. And I'm taking the water out. Now we still have calcium oxide. We've got nickel. And that's phosphorus. I don't need that. I got the magnesium oxide from this. I think we're going to have another one of these here. Now this is going to be a 3. got 10 units of Mars soil, and now we want sodium oxide. I think it's sodium oxide, isn't it? Sodium. Yeah, fucking look. Na2O. Alright, so now we got sodium oxide. There's chlorine in there. That's like 0.5. Chlorine can be used in waste processing. Calcium oxide is at, we'll say 50%, so let's put that in there. We could probably pick up more potassium. Potassium oxide. Alright, so sodium, Mars soil at, this is 100%. That's 10%, that's 5%. So I can't use, if it's 10, it's going to end up being, if it's 100, it's 5. If it's 10, it's going to be 0.5. So I got to multiply everything by 2. So 20. Potassium oxide is going to be 1. We got to get our nickel out of this mess too. Calcium oxide is going to be 10. What the fuck? If, let's see, if Mars soil is, this really should be 100. If that's 10%, that's 0.5. If this is 100, that becomes, it's really up to 60, believe it or not. That if that's 100, that's 60. So that if that's 10, that's going to be a 6. So I've got to multiply everything up by 2. So this is 20. This is 8. And this is 12. Ten is 60%. Sodium oxide is at 40%. Sodium oxide is at 20%. This should be a 4. If this is 10, that's a 2. If it's 100, it's 20%. So that's been fixed. Calcium oxide is 60%. That is at, now is at 10%. And now I gotta do the, well, I don't have to do the oxygen, do I? Actually, what we'll do here is we'll replace that with nickel. And the nickel is going to be at 30%, which is a, if it's 100, it's 30. If it's 10, it's 3. So that's going to make this a 6. So now we've got our sodium, our calcium, and that is in split in there. Now I've got to go and change all of these names. Sodium oxide, calcium oxide, and nickel. There's that one. I don't know about all this other list in here, you know. I gotta do all this listing. Silicon oxide, iron oxide, everything's all freaking like messed up here. Silicon oxide, aluminum oxide, iron oxide, silicon, iron, aluminum, magnesium oxide, oxygen, silicon oxide, iron oxide, potassium, and shit. Now this one here. Silicon, iron, potassium. I fucking wrote it in there. Sodium, alkaline, potassium, and nickel. Carbon dioxide, nitrogen, blah blah. That's pretty much all done right there. Now, and the numbers, I think the numbers are okay. The atmosphere, I don't know about. I have no idea. I'd have to go in there and test some of that stuff. So now I'm going to replace everything here. We got 1, 2, split Mars. Oh, wait, this goes back up here, doesn't it? Split Mars Rock 2. Split Mars Soil 3. Alright, I can do this now. That takes care of the split TCOM Mars. I hope. Now we have to do the synth TCOM Mars. A lot of work. Synth TCOM Mars is right here. Oh, that's like really small. That's the fertilizing the soil. Jeez, I can't even figure out where the hell I am here. That one's mine. This is the original. And the only difference I'm seeing is the amount per second is 0.08. 0.08. That's the only difference. That's for fertilizing soil. That's everything with Mars. That's everything. Now, let me just go to my I got stuff that's not saved, and I've got to go back and double check everything here. Everything should be saved and ready to go. Uh-oh, there's some numbers in there that shouldn't be there. That's okay. Now I'm just checking for obvious errors. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Uh-oh, I want to save that. That's the fertile soil. Get that done. Synthesize fertilizer. Where? Oh, no. What if I should look at this? I'm using human waste and potassium to make fertilizer here. Oh, I see what I... Alright, this is in the synthesis, isn't it? Alright, so we gotta change something here. If I go back to the... Is it the split base? Yep. So we're doing something with fertilizer here. And in the synthesis TCOM base, we're also doing something with it. So we've got to... I gotta move this out of the way and bring this over here. Alright, so we're doing two liquids, and then the fertilizer is only in one synthesis. It's in a... I gotta combine, but it should be split. So we've got 4 human waste, potassium, 2 water, 1 water, blah, blah, blah. I don't need that. Now, that makes... Now here, methane, nitrogen is produced. I got methane and CO2. There's no nitrogen produced. I don't know if I got room for it. I could probably throw a nitrogen in there, couldn't I? don't see why not, really. So let's see, output. Make that a 1. Synthesize human waste, output human. I'm adding methane and Mars soil to make human waste. I don't know why I got that in there. So I'm going to delete this. And save that. And then over here, all of this combined stuff needs to be changed. Shit. Split water. I'm not doing that. I'm creating water by other means. There's no splitting of water. I'm making my own sulfur. Now that's in that other mod too, I think, and I can't remember if I took it out. But before I do anything, I've got to split water. Now, let's see, now we're actually splitting. Split water, recycle liquid, synthesize water. What are we synthesizing here? Human waste. We get ammonia, water, and carbon. And here we do the same thing, we get nitrogen. What do we are synthesizing water, aren't we? We're synthesizing water, so that should be in the synthesis. Combine H2O. You know what I'm going to do, I think? I'm going to take this out of the split. And I'll put this down here so I don't get confused. And I'm going to put that into the synthesis. Into my synthesis right here. So I'm just going to grab all of that. Cut. Paste. So now you combine 1, 2, and combine fertilizer. Save. And then go to my split. Save. And I believe now the only problem is now that I can't. Now, I don't need that. Don't save, I don't need that. See, now I would require that mod, unless if I just add this into my mod, but I want to use his mod. Oh, I see what's going on. So if I go back to my split TCOM, my base, there's a synthesis for sulfur. All of this stuff is there except for the sulfur. Sulfur's not there. Oh, you know what I could do? I can fix that, but if I add his mod, hydrogen sulfide, those are the ones, that's the stuff that I put in mine. All I need is sulfur. Well, I need sulfur and pyrite. I'd need his stuff in my mod. If I put his in mine, and somebody wants to use his separately, you know, I'd have to update his mod and use it. Then I'd have to synthesize the sulfur, and no, I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to add it to mine. I think that's what I'm going to do. So if I go to resources, yeah, you know what I could do? I could just add this whole thing, and it doesn't matter. Then I got the sulfur and the pyrite, right? So if I just add this, to my chemistry list. Wait. No, it's resources list. Now I've got all that stuff right there. Now I can do everything except for, so his and my resources are the same, except I get to have the sulfur in it. If then I get the pyrite. I got the resources, but I can't collect. Wait a minute. Let me think. I'm not collecting the pyrite here. Let me look at his chemistry. See, all his numbers are different now. If I use his numbers, it's got everything in here. Alright, so he's collecting sulfur, potassium. He's splitting the pyrite using FeS2, and I called it pyrite. And oh, you know what? It's not going to work in his now because the FeS2 is the pyrite. I thought I did something with mine, and oh, I split it. I got the sulfur, I got the pyrite, everything, but it won't work in his mod. I want the masscrete to work. So the question is, which mod overrides which mod, right? That's the thing. So I would have to completely get rid of... What I'd have to do is get rid of everything in here except for what he put in. This is Magni. I'd have to change everything in order for his mod to work. And then, even then, I don't know if the numbers are right. So, like, there's the titles. Magnesium sulfate. We could just put the stuff in there, use this mod, and drop everything else. That's the thing to do. And what I want to do in order to do that, I'm going to copy let's put it in here, I guess. I mean, there's only two things to change here. There really isn't... Well, actually, I can delete that altogether. Am I collecting... Wait, what about collecting the pyrite? Am I collecting the pyrite? God damn. There's so much to remember. Shit, where the fuck is it here? User data. I'm not collecting the pyrite anywhere. That should be in his mod. Like in trace element. See, none of this stuff can be in here. This is his. So if I go, this is, let's see, if I take this out. Need that in there. I don't know if you changed any of that either. I didn't look at the numbers. So now this is going to be magnesium sulfate, split magnesium sulfate, I don't know what those numbers are. I don't know if they're right or anything. I'm just gonna throw it in there. Now this is going to be pyrite. Iron. You get FeS plus S. Oh, this is not... I don't want this because I already have this in mine. So what I would do now is I would go back to mine, which is here, into the split com base. we go. So now we've got... Oh, well, if I put that in, then his mod would require my mod in order to work. Which makes sense. Because it's upgraded. Now, this gets removed. And actually, this should be... Split Mars rock pyrite. I think this is Mars rock or Mars core sample. I can't remember what the hell it is. Mars core sample. Output water. Probably not. See, this is where you use the sodium hydroxide. You got to add all that stuff into the drill part too. This doesn't go in there. No, actually, you should just get pyrite here. In fact, what am I doing? This isn't right. I'm already synthesizing sulfur right here. All we're doing is collecting the pyrite. We might collect potassium and some other shit. I gotta look at the chart. It's all fricked up. So we could collect some more potassium, I suppose. Potassium oxide, calcium oxide. Wait a minute. Maybe not. Aluminum oxide is going to be present. Like maybe half of these. So we're going to get aluminum oxide. And calcium oxide. So if we have 10 units of Mars core sample, the pyrite is going to make up maybe it's FeS2, isn't it? Iron and sulfur. So if we look at the map, iron is down around 10% out of the rocks. Sulfur, I think that's SO3. There's a fair amount of sulfur trioxide there. That's like 50%, so maybe 10%. So if this is 100, so if that's 10, this is going to be a 1. The aluminum oxide and the calcium oxide, they're up to, let's see, 50%. How about 50 and 25 or something? So maybe 5. 2. That sounds about right. So I got split sulfur, split Mars pyrite, and split manganese sulfate. I don't know what these numbers are or nothing. These numbers I do know. Well, you can't see what I'm doing here. So these numbers are correct. These numbers are correct. To get sulfur out of magnesium sulfate, you're going to end up with 4 oxygen, 1 sulfur, and not that those numbers mean anything. And so now his mod's dependent on my mod. And we've got everything. I think it's all done. Now I can actually drill for the pyrite. Wait, something's not right here. Oh, it's Mars core sample. I just take that Mars core sample and I can extract the pyrite out of it if I want to. Now I think it's done. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to restart the stream and we're going to test everything.